Hi, I'm Rachel, one of the hosts of the Strange and Beautiful Network. On our network, we specialize in unscripted podcasts like Feast, Sheath, and Shatter, a book chat podcast that feels like hanging out with your best girlfriends and a good, or not so good, book. Come in 81 Kilo, the only currently in production podcast about Forever Night, the 1990s vampire cop show that started it all. And Strange and Beautiful Book Club, our first podcast featuring books and movies in the sci-fi, fantasy, and horror genres that you've probably never heard of but shouldn't miss. Join us today anywhere podcasts are streamed.
You're listening to Champion Cinema with Chris and Chris.
Hello folks and welcome to Champion Cinema. I am Chris with a Clint Eastwood C.
And I'm Chris with a Kansas City K.
Kansas City? Is that the way City Heat says?
It is. It is indeed.
You know, right at the end of the film I went, where's this set? I just never picked up where it was said. Yeah, this week a double bill of Reynolds with a little dash of Clint Eastwood in there. We're going to look at City Heat from 1984 and Heat from 86.
Very confusing Googling these movies.
Yeah. Best way to annoy like a Michael Mann fan when they bring up Heat. Go, do you mean the real Heat? Starring Burt Reynolds. So yeah, not really anything to go over beforehand as usual. We just get straight to it now. We're fucking zippy.
Yeah, we've not killed off any celebrities recently.
Nope, not this week. Not this week.
And we're talking about a celebrity who's sadly already passed.
Yeah,
so we're not at risk of finishing off Burt Reynolds.
I'll just say this: watch out, Clint Eastwood. Be careful this week because we have a habit of randomly killing people off that we talk about. So.
Champion Cinema.
So City Heat was released in 1984, runs for 1 hour and 37 minutes, directed by Richard Benjamin, stars Clint Eastwood as Lieutenant Spear, Burt Reynolds as Private Eye Mike Murphy, Jane Alexander as Addie. Oh, I kept thinking they were calling her Eddie, and I was like, weird name for a woman. Richard Roundtree, Shaft as Del Swift, Madeline Kahn as Caroline, Rip Torn as Primo, and Tony LoBianco as Leon Call. But what's it all about? Chris.
Nice. Well, as alluded to, set in the 1930s in Kansas City, Mike Murphy, played by Reynolds, is an ex-cop turned gumshoe whose business partner is murdered by the mob. Murphy turns to an old but bitter friend on the force, Lieutenant Spear, played by Clint Eastwood, and then nothing short of a mob war breaks out as various parties race to find secret accounting records that implicate numerous mobsters in illegal activity.
Yep, I really didn't pick up on what the fuck they were looking for. I was like, this is just one of those, it doesn't matter what they're looking for. It's a massive MacGuffin.
Like like the golden suitcase and Pulp Fiction sort of thing.
Yeah, it's just one of those, yeah.
For a long time, the dude just referred to it as the goods.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I think I must have missed the part where they actually explained what they actually were looking for.
Yeah, it's like comes like right at the end, I think, basically when they lift out the books and they're talking through it all and stuff.
So to start off with, I'm going to read a passage from Mr. Burt Reynolds' autobiography, But Enough About Me.
Yes.
It's a brilliant title. The first night of shooting was magical. The timing was perfect. The jokes were working. Everyone was having fun. The last shot of the night was a fight scene. I was supposed to get hit in the head with a breakaway chair, but the guy grabbed a metal chair by mistake and caught me flush on the jaw. I went down, but my first impulse was to shake it off, so I got up and finished the scene, because it's Burt Reynolds. The next morning it hurt like hell. I had a blinding headache and ringing in my ears. I could barely open my mouth, and every time I tried to speak, my face clicked. My bite was so lopsided I couldn't chew. I could only drink liquids, and I began losing weight. But I willed myself to keep working. A few nights later, I took a break to lie down in my bus. We had buses instead of trailers, and Clint came in. "How you doing?" he said. "I'm okay." "No, you're not." "No, I'm not, but I'll make it." "Well, I'm not feeling too hot myself. I'm going home." It was typical of Clint to pretend to be tired just to give me the chance to rest without having to admit I was hurt. He didn't want to make a big deal out of it. I tried to thank him, but he just walked away.
Classic Eastwood.
Yeah, he just walked away going,
giving him the look.
"Damn Reynolds." So that was more Ronald Reagan than Clint Eastwood. "Damn Reynolds." A day off didn't help. I should have gone to the hospital, but that would have shut the production down. I didn't want to disappoint Clint, so I popped pain pills and finished the job. The public wanted Boomtown. They got Dirty Harry versus the Wimp. I ruined the movie. Clint never complained about it, of course, and didn't allow it to affect our friendship. I didn't work again for 2 years. And then the weight loss basically led to an awful rumour that Burt Reynolds had AIDS for a few years in the 80s. But yeah, like I've seen a couple of times, like a few interviews with him, and he still, even when he was like in his 70s and people asked him about it, he still maintained that he ruined the movie.
Yeah,
and I'm like, that's so hard on hard on himself. Like, he's the best thing in the movie.
Yeah.
You can't tell it's a guy fighting through like crippling, basically a broken jaw.
No, and like, not that I dislike this movie. I was entertained by it, but I think it's fair to say that there's deeper problems with the script and things, really, and the direction and stuff.
Yeah, anything wrong with the movie's got nothing to do with Burt Reynolds, and I hate the fact that he like spent like 30-40 years blaming himself for like that film, because it was like Clint and Burt Reynolds in a top billing in a movie together for the first time ever. They were two of the biggest stars in the world. It was a big deal.
Yeah, definitely.
It shouldn't be all on his back that it didn't do well. I mean, if anything, like, I love Clint Eastwood, but if anything, Clint's on fucking autopilot in this movie. Like,
he doesn't do a great deal.
No,
really, does he? He's very much just Clint Eastwood, like doing the Clint Eastwood bit.
He's like kind of like a I don't know, a more sarcastic Dirty Harry in the 30s.
Yeah.
Even with the giant gun.
Yeah, yes, which we'll get on to. Yeah, it's sad to hear him like talk about it. I mean, yeah, okay, he was mental for not going, going, no, I need to go to a hospital.
Yeah.
I think I've broke my jaw.
Especially since it happened on, he says it happened on the first night of shooting.
Yeah.
Like, that's mentally, at least at some point you've got to go, okay, wait. Like,
yeah. And just be like, no, that like it's me health, and also it might affect the movie, and fuck it. Yeah, crazy. Bless him.
I guess it just shows his old school work ethic, doesn't it? Like, no, forget about me. Like, we need to get the film finished and stuff.
Yeah.
It's a admirable but a silly trait to have.
Yeah, and I think he would be the first to kind of say that. Like, he has said it in interviews, and he absolutely should have just took himself to the hospital, basically, and put the movie on pause.
Yeah, because like you say, he didn't work for 2 years because of like he ended up with like a pain pill addiction because of it, and then lost all the weight. Everyone was making all these rumors went around he had AIDS, and then he just like it's kind of the beginning of the end for his like A-lister years, wasn't it?
I mean, I said this just before we came on air, but I was vaguely aware of the rumour as a kid in school and stuff. Like middle school sort of era. So I must have, I don't know if I once caught it on the TV or picked it up like in a newspaper that my dad had bought or something. It's like kind of a widespread rumour. It wasn't until I was like, it may have been Boogie Nights, where I was watching Boogie Nights when it first came out, and I thought, didn't he have like AIDS or something? And I like, went and looked and was like, oh right, no, that was just some bullshit rumour.
It just shows how long rumours like that stick.
Yeah, like the damage.
Always about, yeah. You know how we talked about last week, weird connections between the Wraith and Action Jackson? You notice there's a few connections between last week's films and this film?
Yeah, well, I was going to mention that. I mean, one of the most obvious ones is Robert Davi.
Yeah. When he turned out, I was like, oh, come on.
And then the guy that I mentioned,
the dude that gets hit with a car in Action Jackson.
Yeah, Nicholas Worth. Yeah.
I remember what he was from, by the way. He's from Darkman. That's what I know him from.
Yeah, I was going to mention in this show, the guy that gets doppelganged and... did he just chuck out a window? Does he get chucked out a window? I'm tempted to say. Yeah. Just interesting that these films kind of tie in.
There is an even more slight, ridiculous connection, though.
Yeah.
You know how we said Clint Howard looked like Henry from Eraserhead? And then the T-shirt, Action Jackson, Eraserhead. Jack Nance, who plays Henry in Eraserhead, is in this movie.
Bloody hell.
He's at the start. He's the guy that Richard Roundtree meets in the hotel room.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
It's bizarre.
That's a crazy thing.
Bizarre.
There's an even stranger obscure connection going on as well with this movie. The other night we were talking about the TV series Bottom.
Yes.
And I chucked on, I think it might have been like the second episode of Bottom. I just fancied watching an episode. So I watched it, and there's a scene where Richie and Eddie are playing cards together.
Oh, yeah.
And Richie's cheating. and he puts down his hand and goes, "Oh, I've got like 6 of a kind." And Eddie goes, "Hang on, you can't have 6 cards." And then he says he's got 5 kings. And it's like, I'm pretty sure it's almost word for word the scene in this movie.
Yeah, when she's making up her own card games. Yeah.
So I was like, what the fuck?
It's weird.
So like, clearly one of those two actor writers in Bottom like must have been a fan of this movie. Maybe?
Or just like saw the scene once and like, you know, molded it into something for their style of humour or something. Yeah, maybe.
But I was blown away by that sort of like random coincidence because I only watched it last night, Bottom. So it was like really fresh in my head. Like when I watched City Heat, like, oh my God.
We're just stuck in a. We can't wait to see what the coincidences are next week. If there is any.
Totally. But to sum up, I mean, what's your sort of thoughts on this movie then?
To be honest, I've seen it once before, a long time ago, about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, like, I was excited about it because I was like, oh, I've never seen that. And it's Burt Reynolds and Clint Eastwood in, like, the prime. And I remember coming out of it going, it was fine. Like, it was okay. I was slightly disappointed. I think I enjoyed it a little bit more this time.
Yeah, I think there's some great moments in it. I think it's just one of them where it's like there's a better movie in there somewhere. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't take much to turn it into a really good movie, I feel, but because I mean, it looks gorgeous for a start.
Oh yeah,
I like the style, I like the colours and stuff, like very rich browns and reds going on in the movie.
You know what I did halfway through? I often do this with films like set back then. I just turned the colour down on my TV just to see how it looked in black and white.
Nice. Yeah.
And like, because it just shows how well they've shot it. Because like it does, because you know, old black and white movies have a very specific look, like the lighting and stuff.
Yeah.
And when I put it in black and white, I was like, this looks like an old 40s black and white Private Eye movie.
Yeah, just like the contrasty going on between certain set pieces and stuff. And that, yeah. But yeah, I can certainly see some of the criticisms. It's a bit of a convoluted story. I think it almost pulls it off. I think it's really good, the interplay between the different groups. Mm-hmm. You know, you got the 2 different type of mob gangs, like hunting them down, and then you've got Clint Eastwood and the police, and then you've got Burt Reynolds and like his assistant and stuff, and it almost gets there, but it just something doesn't quite pull it all together, and it gets a bit convoluted. Yeah,
if I was going to be like super pessimistic, I would say that like plot was probably quite low down on what they were concentrating on, because really it just feels like they just needed an excuse to have Burt and Clint in a movie together.
Yeah.
But then again, it's like you put them in a movie together, but they're not in scenes together. You'd expect them to team up for most of the movie or something.
Yeah.
But they kind of just cross paths every 15 minutes, which is probably another reason I was a little bit disappointed the first time I saw it.
I saw an interesting comment when I was just kind of flicking over IMDb, and I think that the top synopsis at the top of the page says, slick private investigator Mike Murphy and tough police officer Lieutenant Spear, once partners, now bitter enemies. Mm-hmm. It's like, I didn't get bitter enemies from them, to be fair.
No, not bitter enemies. No. They
like,
just don't like each other very much.
Yeah, old friends who don't see eye to eye anymore.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that relationship. I like the reoccurring gag that Clint Eastwood doesn't get involved until somebody pisses him off.
Basically, until someone spills his drink. And then he does the classic eye twitch.
But yeah, it's really cool when he does it and just gets up and he's like, right, you fuckers. The bit at the end with the shotgun and stuff's really good. It's a similar sort of thing. It redoes that where he's just sat in the car doing fuck all, and then he finally gets up. That's
what I was going to say about that scene. I had that in my highlights, and I was going to say that's a highlight. And I didn't want to say I wouldn't say it's wasted here, but I just feel like if that was in a better, more serious, like a serious movie, that would be considered like an iconic Clint Eastwood scene, but it never gets mentioned because it's in City Heat, a film that kind of was like meh when it came out.
Yeah, because the visuals, like him walking down the street against a hail of bullets, not giving a shit, and he's just got a shotgun and he just starts blowing the shit out of stuff, and then that shot with the fire hydrant,
putting out the van on fire with him in the middle. Yeah, that's an amazing shot.
Yeah, it's really, really good. Yeah. The gunplay in general, I would say, is really nice in this movie. I think I love the bits where they're hid behind dustbins shooting at each other and stuff, you know, like the Naked Gun-esque sort of shootouts.
Yeah.
I think it works for the movie because it's like that's the style that they're going for.
Yeah.
And also, I think, you know, a bit nerdy about guns and stuff. It's like, you know, it was the 1930s. You know, these guns wouldn't be that accurate. So
No.
they'd be taking pot shots at each other across the street, and you wouldn't be able to, like, bullseye somebody
No.
with those guns of that time period. So it kind of works.
I mean, does Eastwood have like the 44 Magnum? Like,
Well, I was gonna say, like, I'm not sure they're fully accurate because, like, some of the guns he pulls out.
I was going to say, was there even 44 Magnums in like
Probably
the 30s?
not. No, probably not. I wouldn't be surprised if the shotgun he's got at the end of the movie isn't like a 1930s thing, and probably pisses like gun aficionados off, going like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, actually, that gun came out in 1961."
Yeah.
So, but another scene that I really love with the gun shootout stuff is the stairwell bit with Clint Eastwood.
Yeah, that's
Like total Dirty Harry.
it feels right out of like a Dirty Harry sequel. It just like it gets super violent for a second. He shoots that guy like 8 times. He's just the hardest guy ever who just won't die.
Yeah, and just that guy that runs out of bullets at the end, and he like waggles his finger and then just blows him away.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus, aren't you supposed to arrest him?
Yeah, they could have easily got away with calling him like Frank Callahan. He was like
Yeah.
Harry's dad or something.
Yeah, they should have. Missed opportunity. But yeah, I do like all that sort of stuff. I suppose, like, going back to criticisms, I think the humour kind of spoils the movie in some ways, and I think obviously they're going for that. It is. I think it's not supposed to be like a full-on serious action movie. It is
No.
like comedy action, but I think the action and the comedy don't gel right
No,
because of the way it's done. I don't know. I know sometimes when Burt Reynolds does the Burt Reynolds stuff, it kind of draws us out of the movie.
yeah,
Like, I'm not watching Mike Murphy anymore. It's just Burt Reynolds.
Bite Reynolds.
Yeah. So, you know, that's like probably like harsh, but that's a criticism of Burt Reynolds, unfortunately. Yeah, maybe if they toned his humour down a little bit or something.
You see, my thing is like I'm kind of agree, but like I kind of wanted the opposite. Like I think there's some great snappy dialogue. I just don't think
Yeah.
it's funny enough.
Well, yeah, no, and that's fair. Yeah, I think, like, when I say, like, the comedy and the action didn't gel, like, maybe they should have just lent one way or the other more.
Yeah, yeah.
Basically. And if they were going to do comedy, then they should have just done comedy. Because, you know, like, 10 minutes earlier, you had Clint Eastwood brutally blowing people away
Yeah.
and stuff.
And Richard Roundtree getting like violently killed, shot, and thrown out of a fucking window and landing in a car with his like bloody face right in front of the camera.
So it's just like, a bit of a, like, the film doesn't know what it wants to be kind of thing.
Because some of the dialogue generally, like, I don't, when I say the dialogue's not funny, I mean the lines that are in there are funny. I just wish there was more of that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because there's a few lines that, like, I love the bit where Clint Eastwood just lets himself into Burt Reynolds' apartment. He goes, "I didn't hear you knock," and Clint Eastwood goes, "What a relief! I thought I'd gone deaf."
Yeah, that's a really, like, snappy lines.
And just the way Reynolds at the end when they're like bluffing that there's cops outside, and he's like, "There's just a guy out here walking his dog," and he's like, "That guy's a veteran." He's like, Who's the guy in the dog suit?
And then obviously them two pulling out guns. Mm-hmm. Where Burt Reynolds pulls out like a big gun and he like looks over at Clint and gives him the look, and Clint just pulls out a bigger gun.
Yeah.
It's like the fucking Joker gun out of Batman 89 or something almost.
It is, yeah. It's like he's 44 Magnum on steroids, basically.
Yeah, so there's definitely, and you know, all the stuff towards the end in the brothel and stuff. I thought you know that humour was quite good.
Yeah, with him and the like the big bad wolf outfit and stuff.
Yeah.
See, I kept they must have just got rid of it because it was probably looked really painful. But I kept waiting for the bit where he got hit with the chair, but they must have got rid of it.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Can I imagine it would be in the open? I thought it would be. I was waiting for it in that scene, but then I thought maybe it was the opening scene. I don't know. At the diner.
Because he does say it like pretty much knocked him out, didn't it? So I suppose maybe it's like the shot wasn't like usable or something.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. But yeah, I want to talk about that. I do love the opening scene in the diner.
Like the slow setup, the rain outside, the lighting with the red and stuff,
and it sets up their relationship perfectly as well. Like you said, with Clint Eastwood, Burt Reynolds just getting the crap kicked out of him, and Burt just Clint. Fuck's sake, why do I keep getting them mixed up? Burt, Clint, Burt, and Clint just drinking his coffee. But Jesus, Clint Reynolds and Burt Eastwood.
Yeah, there you go. Merge the characters.
Yeah, Burt goes mental. He goes proper rage.
Oh, yeah, it's a hell of a fight.
He's stomping a guy's head into the corner and shit.
Yeah, it's a lot of the fighting in this movie is like done really well.
It is.
The sound effects and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Are just like.
Yeah,
like, I don't know. They just sound like somebody really getting smacked in the face.
It's that like very specific time period of like early 80s punch sound effects. Normally in Clint Eastwood movies that I'm always familiar with them, where they're like the pop when people get hit. They're not quite like the Indiana Jones sound effect.
No, it's
like
more
a
like
skin on skin pop. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a great opening fight.
Yeah, definitely. And I think for the film noir sort of like Dixon Hill sort of stuff, I think they nail the look and the feel really well. I think there's a lot of tropes that this film absolutely nails about the genre. You know, like his office, the fact he's got wood blinds, you know, the little wooden spinny chair that he's got in his office and things. And
you think about it, like the only thing they don't use from like, you know, the cliched private dick handbook is the voiceover. The film noir voiceover.
Yeah. But everything else they really nail. Yeah. Like the trench coats and whatnot and stuff.
Yeah. Well, I'm guessing it was all shot on a backlot. It kind of looks like it's always like two streets, doesn't it?
Yeah. Just film different ways and flip the plates and stuff.
Yeah.
All that sort of stuff, yeah. I liked Rip Torn as well.
Oh, yeah. Get out crazy Rip Torn.
Yeah, playing just the absolute bastard and stuff. Kind of surprising when he gets shot at the end. I was like, oh my gosh, that's it, he's out. Yeah. But it's kind of a cool ending how he's like, well, he thinks he's won basically because he's like, if I don't make the phone call, she's going to die, and I get to watch you squirm as I die.
Yeah.
Nice line.
I mean, I've kind of went over my highlights as we were talking. With the exception of the great moment when Burt Reynolds smacks two guys in the face with a baseball bat.
yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
There's a lot of like smacking, like, you know, like, what in real life would be ridiculously brutal. Like there's that, and then the bit where Clint Eastwood just breaks a pool cue over the side of a guy's face.
Yeah. What does he say again? It's something like, well, "Do you want to play shoot and go to sleep or something?"
I think he goes in and goes, "Want to play a sleeper?" And he goes, "Never heard of it." He's like, "Oh, it's you take your shot and then you go to sleep," and he just smacks with the side of the face.
Right in the face. Yeah. Like, I wonder whose idea it was. Were those all Clint Eastwood ideas?
Maybe.
Like up in the ante, making it more violent. Just looking down the list. The only thing I would say is it's kind of just me nitpicking, but also laughing at it. At the end, when Burt Reynolds obviously is tampered with a suitcase and it blows up and kills the bad guys. But I was thinking, like, hasn't he just literally murdered like 3 or 4 people though? Like,
yeah,
I know they're bad guys, but surely he would have to be arrested at that point, right?
Well, you know,
you kind of just fucking blow people up.
You know how it is in an Eastwood movie.
They all live happily after they all murdered people.
Yeah.
But yeah, my highlight scene is undoubtedly the stairway bit. I think it's great. It's really well shot. I think the action's like surprisingly realistic. You know, when people, apart from that one guy, like when people get shot, they kind of look like they're being shot. Like, you know, they like go down really quick and stuff, and it feels dangerous. I don't know if it's the camera angles, but it just feels like there's real threat in that scene.
But then again, though, like you were saying, like you've got a scene like that which feels like quite dangerous and real, and then comedy, like, but not in the same way. Like, I know I always say, like, you know, it's fine when Hong Kong does it because it's just what they do. Yeah. But it's not that. Like, it would be like if, like, I don't know. Oh no, that's not really a good example. Like, what's a American buddy movie that's like primarily comedy, like buddy cop movie?
I don't know, like Rush Hour or something.
Yeah, imagine you're watching Rush Hour and then there's a shootout and all of a sudden it turns into like to mention another movie called Heat, Michael Mann's Heat.
Yeah.
There's a gunfight. Score drops out. It's all realistic sound effects. It'd be kind of like that in a way.
Yeah, a little bit like, oh, what's going on? And then, another scene where a character gets autopsied alive or something.
Yeah, and then in the next scene, Jackie's like getting kicked in the hoop and stuff.
It's always leaving you guessing. Yeah, and I suppose as I've already mentioned, the story's a tad messy, basically.
Yeah.
It's kind of grim to hear all the like horrendous reviews at the time.
Yeah.
Where people just absolutely shit all over the movie.
What did it come out? Did it come out like the same week as like fucking Ghostbusters or something? Or like it came out the same week as one big film of '84.
Yeah, it's like always
Beverly Hills Cop or Ghostbusters, you know.
I suppose that like the anticipation would be high, I guess, for a film like this. You know, like Clint Eastwood and Burt Reynolds. And you know, Burt Reynolds was right at his, you know, close to his peak, basically. So it was like, you know, I reckon a lot of people expected a lot from this movie. Yeah. But yeah, reading some of the reviews was not they weren't fair. Some of the reviews.
No, they never are, man. They never are. But I would say this is the peak. Like, this is the film that knocked him off his peak, I would say. Especially after when they didn't work for another 2 years. Because you got, like, Smokey and the Bandit, I would say, was his peak. And then 2, and then Cannonball Run. And then there was a few, like, dodgy ones in the middle there. And then this. And then, you know, 2 years off. So... And because Eastwood wasn't affected by it, really. He's never really been affected by flops. Yeah. Did like Pale Rider after this, which was one of his, like, you know, more heralded movies.
Yeah, it's one thing about Eastwood when you look at his, you know, I mean, that box set's a prime example where I'm not a massive Eastwood fan. I like his films, but I'm not like, you know...
Not hardcore, no.
But when I look at that box set, like every other film I hadn't heard of when I first got the box set almost. I was like, oh, I've not heard of that.
And he's got a few little dark hidden gems. Either hidden gems or just films that are a bit naff, but...
Yeah.
But as far I'm going to assume there's no new artwork.
Sadly, there is no artwork. There is no Nintendo Entertainment System games where you're jumping over snakes.
Not even a Spectrum game. Come on.
No. And no action figures, of course. So once again this week we've picked 2 movies that have zero merchandise.
It's going to be like this for the next couple of weeks, pretty much.
Yeah.
And as for Blu-ray, bog standard, bare bones Warner Brothers release. There you go. What else do you expect from Warner Brothers?
Yeah, and I suppose this film, I guess. You know, it's not... With it not being like an overly loved movie or anything, it's not going to get that love, unfortunately.
But still, though, this is a good time to shout out a YouTuber I found a couple of weeks ago called Gator McCluskey, who is working on just a giant Burt Reynolds documentary, and he's done a good video on City Heat. So if you want to know, which would be an amazing extra on a Blu-ray. But
yeah, to be fair, I checked out. So this week, I checked out City Heat, one that he did, and he's done like a short alternate version on Heat.
Yeah, I don't think he's got around to doing a full one on Heat yet.
And I watched them both, and really well put together videos. I could see it being a really good like documentary all strung together.
Like if you've got any interest at all in Burt Reynolds or just good documentaries about actors, then give his channel a subscribe. Yeah, Gator McCluskey.
Yes.
Very, very good.
Champion Cinema.
So, Heat, released a couple of years later in 1986, with a runtime of 1 hour 41 minutes. I'd just like to call out before I say the director this movie apparently had 6 directors in total. Yep.
It was a troubled production.
But ultimately, is known to be directed by Dick Richards and Jerry Jameson. Starring Burt Reynolds, of course, as Mex/Nick Escalante, Karen Young as Holly, Peter McNichol as Cyrus Kinnick, Howard Hessman as I've written it down, but it can't read me right. Pinchas Zion. I think that's
Matrix character.
Yeah, totally. Neil Barry as Danny DeMarco and Diana Scarwid as Cassie. So, what's Heat about?
Hard as nails, but lovely, really. Las Vegas bodyguard Nick Escalante helps out a female friend to exact revenge on some mobsters who put her in hospital. Meanwhile, he takes a job protecting a young millionaire and also attempts to raise enough money to fund his move to Venice. But eventually, the mobsters want revenge. So we'll start here. This film, as I said, very troubled production. dug out an LA Times article from May 1986 to give you a sum up of what it was like. Actor Burt Reynolds was sued for more than $25 million on Monday by a director who claimed the actor threatened him several times during the film of a movie and finally knocked him unconscious on a Las Vegas set. Also named in the action-filled Los Angeles Superior Court by Richard Richards. Isn't that the name of fucking Rick Mail and Bottom?
Yeah, Dick Richards.
Richard Richards? What the fuck? What's going on? We're producer Elliot Kastner, Escalante Productions, and Dr. Don Michelson, a physician who purportedly examined the actor prior to filming and should have known Reynolds was unfit to work peacefully with us. At this point, I guess Reynolds was just Sonny Landham.
Yeah. He needed a bodyguard.
It's funny that he's playing a bodyguard as well.
Yeah.
According to attorney Howard L. Weitzman, Richards was also severely injured in the alleged assault last March on the set of the film Heat, and he has not yet been able to resume work. And Richards said in his studio he told Kastner of Reynolds' repeated threats and asked to be relieved as director, but he said Kastner refused and threatened to sue Richards. He said Reynolds finally struck him in the face with, quote, tremendous force. Richards complained that Kastner knew Reynolds was, quote, emotionally unstable and prone to violence. The suit seeks $25 million in punitive damages, $200,000 in compensatory damages, and an unspecified amount for general and medical damages and loss of earnings. Richards said he was fired and not paid for his services. There you go.
I mean, if you're going to be punched by somebody like Burt Reynolds on a movie set, you're going to bring out the big guns, aren't you? You're going to be like, I can no longer look at a woman. I get nightmares. And
I can no longer look at a woman without seeing a mustache.
yeah, you know what I mean? Like, you're just going to be like, I can't eat meat and things, and it's affected me deeply.
Isn't it fucked up, though, that, like, this, I think he might have made a movie just before this, but, like, he takes 2 years off, comes back, and after a jaw injury, and breaks another guy's jaw.
Yeah.
Like, what are the fucking, what the hell?
Just wanted to pass it on, apparently.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe subconsciously he was like, I'm breaking someone's jaw this time on a movie.
It's interesting factoid that guy never directed anything ever again.
That was enough. Getting fucking your jaw cracked in half by Burt Reynolds was like, I think I'm done with movies.
But yeah, what a strange film.
It is a very odd film, isn't it?
Yeah, like you can certainly tell there were 6 directors for this movie. I mean, I know not all of them. I think one guy literally lasted one day or something, didn't he? Like, never got on set or something.
Probably.
But like, it just feels like a movie that had a lot of hands in on it.
Yeah.
Like, different things happening. The film starts and ends about 5 times.
Yeah.
It's weird.
It almost feels like, especially one bit, because like the other guy that directed most of it, Jerry Jameson, like I think he was a TV director, wasn't he?
Yeah,
he'd worked with Reynolds before early on TV.
And there is that.
Yeah, I was going to say that there's one part in particular that had a very TV feel to it, and I was like, this feels weird. And I'm thinking of that, you could almost describe it as like, it feels like about 2 or 3 episodes of a TV show.
Yeah. Some of the action scenes give us like 18 vibes, basically.
Well, let's talk about that scene, like that whole scene, because like basically his friend, who's played by Karen Young, who I thought was really good in the film, actually.
Yeah.
She was like, went up to a mobster's hotel. I think she says a prostitute, right? They do establish
I think that's implied. Yeah.
She went up to a mobster's hotel room. They like did awful stuff to her. Really took advantage of her. Inserted because the dialogue in that scene is so upfront for a movie from 1986.
Fucking Mexico culture, literally.
Yeah.
Like, I'm paraphrasing, but she says like, he took a gun after he had finished with me. He took a gun and put it in me. And asked me to say that I love him. And when I say put it in me, it wasn't in my mouth.
Yeah.
It's like, that's what the line's like. And it's like, fucking hell.
And then tried to go get stitched up at the hospital because of it. And it's like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's like, really stands out as like one of the more grimmer moments in a Burt Reynolds film.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Apart from like Deliverance, of course.
Yeah, well, yeah. So yeah, like he agrees after a bit of convincing to like find out who it is, who he's staying, all that, so she can get her revenge. So Reynolds decides to cosplay as a pimp.
Yeah,
and he turns up in such a beautiful silky number jacket.
Yeah, with the medallion and everything.
Did he get a good look at the medallion? I'm pretty sure it's a fucking John Wayne medallion.
Is it?
It looked like it. It had a cowboy on it. But yeah, a couple of familiar faces here. The 2 big heavies. You got one, Joe Klecko, who you'll recognise as the big guy who drives the van in Cannonball Run, who holds the van up.
Right, yes.
Yeah. He's in a few, he's in like...
I did think I recognised, definitely the bigger guy. I thought, I'm sure I've seen him somewhere.
I think he's in like one of the Smokey the Bandits, either the first or the second one. And the other guy, amusingly, Peter Koch, was they're both American football players, obviously, from the size of them.
Yeah.
He would star in Heartbreak Ridge with Clint Eastwood the same year.
There you go.
And another one who was kind of like, I only recognise him because he's got a very familiar face, and he's kind of a background guy. And he's only credited as stunts. Dick Durock, who was most famously known for playing Swamp Thing. You know what else? You know who else he played?
Go on.
I'll just say Incredible Hulk. Who do you think he played in Incredible Hulk?
Oh, is it the big tall dude?
The second Hulk?
Yeah. the when I say tall dude, the lanky old-looking Hulk.
Yeah.
He only looks old because they've put like stuff in his hair.
Yeah. So yeah, it's our favourite episode of Incredible Hulk. Yeah. He plays the weird second Hulk.
Yeah, it's like the only episode of the Hulk I can like recall basically because we watched it loads.
Yeah. He plays like the one of the henchmen at the end, like the end chase, the tall one.
Right, yeah. But yeah, because I mean, it's kind of cool that I like the build up to it, how he's there, he's in front of he's surrounded by heavies, and you think he's like well out of his depth almost, like he's gonna get killed, but then he just absolutely handles the situation,
hands them their arse, basically. Yeah. Because, there's a lot of good, like, quiet, tough guy dialogue and posturing in that scene where Reynolds just shines. Like, that's the best Reynolds does in the movie, is like when he does stuff like that, I think.
Yeah, like really brooding, and you can tell there's something going on under the surface.
And Christ, though, when he gets it, what is he? Does he just, like, kick off the guy's skin on his knee? Like, what does he do to his knee?
I think I got the sort of idea that the guy behind him's kind of stood with his, like, knees locked. And so he just, like, kicks backwards right on his knee to, like, sort of snap out the bone or something.
Yeah, because it's brutal, Jesus.
Yeah, but yeah, and then he has some sort of, like, credit cards that are knives. I don't think they're like normal credit cards.
No,
I think they're like metal or something.
Yeah.
Kind of give us vibes of like Gotta Gamblers or something.
Yeah.
Like flicking the cards or something. Yeah, using them as weapons.
But yeah, I'm not sure how to explain like the fight to anyone who hasn't seen it. It's so weird.
Slow motion and, like I said, A-Team vibes where people getting thrown over the top of a camera in slow motion.
Yeah, but it's that, like that style, but mixed with like brutal bloody violence and like odd horror movie like delay on the screams when like is Burt Reynolds the bad guy?
Just going totally mental.
Yeah,
I mean, you could almost believe it because obviously the way the movie opens, like Burt Reynolds is basically being a massive bastard.
Oh, that's what I was going to say when I first started watching it. Before I caught on what was happening in the scene, I was like, I don't know if I want to watch a movie where Burt's a shithead for 90 minutes.
Thankfully, he's just helping a guy out.
Yeah.
It had me worried at first to start the movie. I was like, oh my god.
Yeah, because as well as being like a bodyguard, he also just does like odd jobs for people.
Yeah,
so in the opening scene, he's basically hitting on some guy's wife so the guy can beat him up and he'll look good in front of his wife, basically.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Yeah, I did see the trivia that like says amusing that the whole opening scene is about Burt taking the piss out of a guy with a wig, and he was like rumoured to have a rug for most of his life.
Yeah,
that's odd.
Definitely.
I wonder if when he read the script he was like, are they just taking the piss?
Yeah, I wonder how open he was about that. I don't know if he does mention that in the book at all.
No, I don't think so. I've never read anything in the book about it so far. No, I've never really read the book start to finish.
No.
I've been meaning to since I got it. But
Yeah. But yeah, it's getting back to that scene in the hotel room and stuff. It's kind of cool how she comes in. Like once he's like softened everybody up and tied them up, she comes in with a big pair of cleavers, basically.
Yeah, that was like my favourite bit in the film. I thought she was great. She does like calm, unhinged really well.
Yeah.
And really scares the shit out of the mobster guy who's just got such a punchable face. He plays it so well. It's just like some smug, young mobster son type of thing.
Yeah, like the son, and that everyone has to put up with his shit because he's the son of a boss.
Yeah, just gets away with loads of horrible shit. Yeah. And then he ran into someone who's mates with Burt Reynolds.
My only problem really with the scene is that, like, you would definitely just have to kill them, wouldn't you?
Yeah, of course, you wouldn't leave them. Yeah.
Like, that's coming back to bite you on the arse. You don't just bust into some snotty, twatty mob son hotel room, rough them up, and then walk away and expect no comeuppance.
And also snip at least a little bit of his dick off.
I was fully expecting him to throw him out the window or something, or do something, but no, he just leaves him.
Well, that's the point in the movie where it reminded us of like a Hong Kong movie, where like there's some Hong Kong movies where they'll set up a plot. Basically, they'll set up the finale in the first 20 minutes. And then the rest of the movie is just a bunch of hijinks, and they're like, "Oh yeah, the bad guy," and then it gets back to the bad guy, and that's kind of what this does.
Yeah, it really does, doesn't it? Because her angle kind of finishes at that point. She's like, "I'm leaving town now," and then she's gone from the movie, and she's kind of been like the drive of the movie for the first like 20.
Yeah, this is the first
minutes.
Half an hour, 40 minutes. Yeah,
and then McNichol comes in. Peter McNichol comes into the movie, and it's like a new movie again.
Yeah.
And it's all about like he's like a rich computer like guy who's invented software and become rich off the back of it or something. And he wants somebody to train him how to fight.
Yeah, he just wants to be tough.
To be fair, I started enjoying the movie like really quite a lot when those two characters were interacting.
I was going to say I thought they had really good chemistry together, and it's not something that everyone would have thought of. Like, who would be good together? Peter McNichol and Burt Reynolds.
Not at all.
It's a complete like tombola casting that works really well.
It's really good. The bit when not skipping ahead, but fuck it, here it is. My highlight scene is them like at the house when he's training him how to like defend himself.
Yeah, that was like genuinely funny. Like when he's like, "How do you feel?" and he's like, "Do you feel pain?" He's like, "No, not really." Then he's like, "This doesn't hurt." He's like, "I don't feel pain. This feels pain." And he holds his eye. That really got a laugh out of it.
And then when he like sneak attacks Bert and gets a punch on him and stuff. It's like really, really good. Yeah. Like my biggest criticism of this movie is I wanted more of that. Basically.
Yeah, that should have been the A plot, really, shouldn't it? Yeah. Their relationship, and then something happens. I mean, did you know? I forgot that this was reading up again. I forgot that this was remade as a Statham movie about 10 years ago.
Yeah, I
wonder,
that. Yeah.
I wonder what that's like. I've never seen it.
Wild Card.
Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, you might have to check it out. Yeah. Although, I'll just be fucking Statham. Just being Statham.
Let's go play some blackjack.
I can only hope he doesn't have an American accent in it, though.
Probably does.
He's like, I'm from America.
I'm from America, man.
No, you're not. Definitely not.
It's mad. Like, I love that early on in Statham's career, they were like, okay, you got to be American. Americans won't accept you unless you're American. And then he's like, one movie, two movie, and they're like, all right, just fuck it, you're from London. You're the new Van Damme. We'll just put a line in explaining why you're a Cockney.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I quite like the scene where he has like loads of luck at the blackjack table.
Yeah. It's an interesting scene though, because I didn't really know where it was going. To be honest, I was like, again, this is where like the movie almost restarts itself again.
Yeah.
All of a sudden now he's a guy with a massive gambling problem, and it's like, really, but I didn't get that from your character 30 minutes ago.
The wait till about the 50-minute mark to reveal he has a gambling problem, and by just showing you for 10 minutes that he's got a gambling problem.
Yeah. But the whole bit's like nicely done and stuff, how he's just like, he gets deeper and deeper into it basically, and then he ends up losing like, what was it, like 200,000 or something.
Yeah, it's like $250,000 or something. Yeah. It's the exact reason I don't gamble. Yeah, that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah, you just get in too deep and then it's all gone.
Yeah.
It's kind of a nice sort of full stop to it, how his friend who's like working the tables, the female friend, she like has tears in her eyes.
Yeah,
at the end
that was a sweet moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, because she like beats him ultimately at blackjack, and it's kind of like. And
great. Then I love just how. He rationalises it, but he's probably good inside the Nick character. But how he says like, "Oh, it's nothing. I came in with 10 grand. I've lost 10 grand. Like not counting the 250 grand he just lost."
Yeah.
Because for a second when that scene first started, I was like, "It's just turned into Rain Man all of a sudden."
Yeah, definitely. Like really strange. I mean, he does mention, and another really great scene. But he mentions that he's got like a really good memory, doesn't he? When he lists off like all his qualities. I really like that scene where like Peter McNicol's character asks like, "Oh, tell us about yourself" or something.
Yeah.
And he just lists off a whole bunch of stuff. I thought that's a really good scene.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the bits he says something like, "I can memorize the front of a newspaper and then read it back to you a fortnight later" or something.
Yeah, I really liked the character. Like, and I thought Burt Reynolds was great, and it like just got such a, it's Burt Reynolds. He's got just screen presence, and he's perfect for this type of character.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, like the slow to act, but once he's jumps in action, he's like a whirlwind sort of thing.
He's got that, that sort of kind of an old trope, but he's a very dangerous man. But if you're his friend, like he's the best friend you'll ever have.
Obviously, the hint, well, not hint, it's sort of said at one point, is like ex-Vietnam, some sort of special soldier or something in Nam.
Yeah, and like, or some of the plot synopsis lists him as ex-mercenary as well, which I think they might mention right at the start briefly. Yeah. Because obviously, like we said, his whole arc is he just wants to have enough money to move to Venice and like retire. And spoilers, the very last shot is him in Venice, and I was like, that's interesting. He's wearing a red shirt. I think this is the band. It's a sly sequel to Smokey and the Bandit.
Maybe.
What he got up to when he stopped racing and lost Sally Field.
I'll tell you what though, speaking of sequels and stuff, I want to see the sequel of him and Peter McNicol's character, like just with their own business in Venice, basically. They're both like fish out of waters. And like they should have done that as a sequel.
Just get a burger van like Wheels on Meals.
Yeah. I would have loved that. Fuck it. Like, it's genuinely sad that sequel never happened to this movie.
I know.
Just them two in it.
Yeah, I was really surprised by how much I liked those two as like a double act. It was like, oh, this is sweet.
But fucking shocking moments in the movie though. When Peter McNicol's character gets blown away.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ. I was like stunned by that scene. I was like, what?
I sadly knew that was coming. I'd seen that before.
I hadn't seen it. It totally shocked us. And obviously I didn't know the end result. So I was like, he's dead. No way. Like, that's insane.
Well, have you seen the whole thing about the alternate ending? Is that like in most versions he isn't? In most versions he is dead.
Yeah, apparently, like, isn't it like all the UK versions or something? You don't get that bit with them coming back or something.
Is it that, or is it the opposite way around? That the UK got the extended ending, something like that. Yeah. But like in the American cut, because they were arguing about what ending it should have, a happy ending or more of a downbeat ending. So, yeah, in some versions of the film he just dies. That's it. Last you see of him is him just lying there going, I don't feel any pain. You're like, fuck, crying.
One of them changes I thoroughly agree with. Where I'm like, no, you can't end your movie like that.
You can't kill off the most innocent person in the movie.
Although it is ridiculous that he doesn't die, because of course he takes fucking 4 shots to the chest.
Yeah, and they're like, he'll be out in a month, he's champion.
Like massive squibs going off. And when he's in his hospital bed, doesn't he just complain about his eye or something? He's like, oh, my eye's still.
No, it's his hand.
Yeah, his hand, yeah. It's like, fucking, what about the 4 slugs in your chest, mate?
So what about highlights though? I've got a few highlights.
Yeah, I mean a lot of the. I mean, obviously the training scene's definitely for me at the house, but I kind of liked all the stuff, with him hunting down the bad guys at the end. Basically, it kind of turns into a slasher movie.
It does, yeah, with Bert as the killer,
just murdering his way through the gang.
Yeah, my favourite bit was fucking Bert's Bruce Lee kick, taking out the light. Yes. I was like, what the fuck was that?
He douses the guy in petrol or something, and then kung fu kicks the light.
Just goes zipping past and kicks out the light.
And then of course, crazy dangerous fire stunt.
Yeah, yep.
I always hate those fire stunts in low-budget movies. I'm always like, oh my god, somebody really risked the life.
Especially on a movie that sounds as fucking insane as the making of sounds insane as this one was.
Yeah.
There's another bit as well where he just chucks a big metal rod at a guy and fucking spears him, and it's like, this death seems very over the top.
And his reaction's
he just screams it's like the end of fucking Commando with Bennett or something.
Yeah, it's so
ridiculous. Just comes out of nowhere. It's weird to film for just suddenly getting super violent.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I must say, I don't think I've ever seen this in any film elsewhere. he just talks the bad guy into blowing himself away.
I was going to say that to my notes. I was like, I loved it when Reynolds just shit-talked the bad guy and killed himself.
He's like, I'm going to hunt you. You're never going to be free of me. You're going to be looking over your shoulder. And he's like, fuck.
That was easy. I was literally planning on just going away.
Just talks himself into blowing himself away. Crazy. So yeah, very unique ending, I guess.
Definitely, yeah. I've never seen that in a movie before, where just like from the shadows, the good guy just convinces the bad guy to top himself.
I love the bit as well when he, I don't know, he's like, so he's a voice in the darkness, and he's all like, throwing his voice almost. The bad guy can't tell where he is and stuff. And then there's just a quick shot of Burt Reynolds just scuttling across the floor. I don't know, I just thought it took some of the mystique away for us. Like I don't know if you're even supposed to say it, but he's just the way he does a quick little shuffle.
Yeah, like imagine if you saw Batman do that in a Batman movie. It would take you out of it a bit, wouldn't it?
I don't know if this was... I assume this is the way the movie was made rather than the version that I had, but the fucking sound was terrible in this film.
Oh, mine was
really
okay.
bad. I just thought that some of the ADR work was like... Early in the movie, it's like everyone's voice is as loud as fuck and stuff. And there's a bit... I think it might be the training bit when they're like when they go outside next to the pool.
Yeah.
And like the birds are like louder than the dialogue. So it's like, oh my god.
Well, I just watched it on YouTube. It's on YouTube for free. And it was fine.
Yeah, I wonder if we watch different YouTube versions, because, unless... I mean, I was watching it with the surround sound on.
Maybe that's it.
Maybe it was picking it up more.
Speaking of sound, though, the score by Michael Gibbs, did it sound familiar to you at all?
I'm trying to remember what it was.
Not that it's from something else, but style-wise, a lot of sax.
Yeah, I was thinking, like, what did it sound like? Yeah.
Michael Gibbs did the score for Hard Boiled.
Right.
Yeah. That's initially what made us check out the movie. when we were doing the John Woo shows, I was like, I've always meant to check if this Michael Gibbs guy did anything else. And I was like, oh, he did a Reynolds movie. And then I started watching it and thought, you know what, this would be good one to do for the show.
Yeah, there is some like drawn out from memory, like sexy bits and stuff.
There's a very like hard boiled. You could put it over a scene of Tony Lung on his boat; it would match perfectly.
I did like the bit weird music being out of place when they go to a strip club at one point, and it's like fucking music from like Rawhide or something.
Yeah, it's some weird cowboy strip club or something.
Like those poor girls like dancing to like that music, like really hard to do. Sexy dance.
I was supposed to dance to this, mate. Come on.
Like on a pole or something, and it's like ding 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 ding. Like weird choice of music.
And I'd quite like to go to a cowboy strip bar. It'd just be amusing to see what dances they come up with.
Just all like hay bales instead of chairs and stuff. They just fully go for it.
But I guess we've already went over like criticisms of the movie. Like, you know, it's an easy movie to criticize.
Yeah. It's. I think its biggest problem is that it's all over the shop. Like, I think it's a film that could have been saved in the edit. I think if they just pulled it all together a bit tighter, like he should have met I keep saying the actor's name, but the Cyrus Kinnick character, Peter McNichol's character. If he had met him like probably in the first 20 minutes of the movie, and then it was like interplaced more with him and the girl, and then him getting into trouble. And I don't know, like if they'd done more Peter McNichol stuff, you might have felt more for his death. Or
I've just thought of a plot they should have used then. So he's like he accepts the job from him, like he does. Then he helps out his friend, Karen Young. And then when it should have then, instead of just the mobsters coming back at the end after 20 minutes, it should have been them like trying to track him down, they spot him with Peter McNichol and kidnap him.
Yeah, exactly.
To draw him out.
And that's the threat.
Yeah, and then that includes him more, and then, you know, you could still do the like, oh, did he die thing at the end.
Yeah.
But, you know, that would include him, and it would be a bit more cohesive as a movie, rather than just like, that's done, and then at the end, the mobsters, you know what I mean?
I think it's just massively a movie that doesn't have a middle and an end. It's just a whole bunch of starts. And then a random shootout at the very end.
Yeah.
That comes out of nowhere.
But it's not. It's entertaining. I like it.
Yeah, definitely. There's definitely some stuff there. Like I said, the comedy stuff and that. I was entertained by it. I think we've talked about this recently. Like, not every film needs to be like,
No.
you know, life changing and stuff.
Of
Some
course
films
not.
can just be mildly entertaining and make you laugh and stuff.
I just
It's
wish
like-
some people would realise that, though. Like, some people just, like, when they review a movie, they're like, okay, the bad kind of outweighed the good, so it's shit. It's like, just no.
Yeah.
The bad can outweigh the good, but the good can be, like, still be very entertaining and, like, make you forget about the bad stuff. And like I said, I wouldn't necessarily say this was bad. It's
No.
just it's kind of middle of the road, but with a lot of good stuff in it, I would say.
Yeah. And there's some strange choices, like
Yeah.
freeze frames mid-fight and stuff.
Yeah, there's
Slow
weird,
motion.
like, jerky zooms. I can't even describe it. You just have to watch the scene and go, this is a very odd mix of styles, like the fight scene.
Yeah, definitely. I just remembered as well the guy who's like his friend. My brain hasn't processed him until just now. That like when Burt Reynolds is like in his office, which is under like a dance academy or something.
Yeah, like his business partner.
Yeah, there's like another guy in there, but like, what does he do in the movie? Where does he go?
He's at the start, and then he turns up at the end to just go, the mob's after you, and then that's the last time you see him.
Yeah, really random. I just didn't process his role at all in the movie until I just thought about it then.
So come on, then, did Mondo do a heat print?
No, sadly.
No? Bollocks.
Sadly, there's nothing out there for it.
No.
I even looked out the trying to like different titles and AKs and stuff and see if there was anything else, but no, sadly, nothing for Heat. No.
Well, thankfully, there's a Kino Lorber released a Blu-ray of it last year.
Cool.
And before then, it had just had, full screen, bare bone, shitty DVD release. That was it. But it includes a commentary and the alternate ending, which I guess like that clears it up. And the alternate ending is in America, it's an alternate ending. Yeah. And a bunch of classic Burt Reynolds trailers to watch. Which,
Nice.
that's better now, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's just got a decent release.
Yeah, it's slightly cleaned up image and stuff. Because I mean, the version that presumably that we both watched on YouTube, it wasn't the best. It was a bit soft.
Maybe a DVD rip. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, Kino Lorber was a good company, so I'm sure the transfer looks great and stuff. So,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's that. That's Burt Reynolds. Finally done some more Reynolds on the show after a long time.
Yeah, I should keep doing some more Reynolds. Probably do like Smokey and the Bandit and all that.
There's just so many I haven't seen. Like the one he did before this called Stick, which I think is based on like an Elmo Leonard book, and then there's like the original Longest Yard. That one, what's that one called? Gator.
Yes, yeah, I've got that to watch. That's on my list.
That movie White Lightning, which has the most manliest poster ever, which is just shirtless Reynolds looking hard.
One thing that we're definitely not doing, though, we're not doing the end.
Now I know you've wandered off the end. So.
I'm not watching that film again. That was like really bad.
I've always wanted to see one movie just because the title tickles me. I don't know what cat dancing is, but it's the movie called The Man Who Loved Cat Dancing. And I'm like, what is it? It's not going to be cats dancing, surely.
Didn't he do? Reynolds did another movie called like The Man That Loved Women or something.
Man Who Loved Women, yeah.
Yeah, which looks fairly horrific as well.
Him and Julie Andrews.
And I think doesn't it have like it's got somebody else in it?
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, it's Kim Basinger.
Kim Basinger, yeah. I was thinking, like, who's it got in it? Yeah.
I think that was supposed to be good. It's like a Blake Edwards movie. I think it's supposed to be okay, yeah.
Just, like, really generic premise.
Oh, yeah.
But it's like, I guess Burt Reynolds, it could work.
The Man Who Shags. But yeah, folks, if we've had that's 3 films in a row now with hard bastards with moustaches. If you're tired of that, I've got some bad news for you. Next week, we're doing a Chuck Norris movie and a Charles Bronson movie.
This is not planned at all. We're just kind of falling into this thing.
Once we decide what we're doing next week, I was like, it's a lot of movies with big hard guys with moustaches, but fuck it. That's the theme we're going. We're starting the year with moustaches.
It's just one of them things where it's almost like going on a Wikipedia binge, and when you just go down that like rabbit hole.
Yeah.
That's kind of what's happening. We're just, because each film's weirdly connecting to another film, it's like that. Because I think with The Wraith, like as a sort of side thing to the moustaches thing, like the only reason to watch that was because it randomly popped up when I was looking at 86 movies, and I watched the trailer.
Yeah.
And was like, that looks really good.
Yeah, it's always been one of those movies I'm like, I'll see that someday, just because the box art was so eye-catching. But
I think it's the same with the Chuck Norris movie. Like, because of things I was looking at, I don't know if it was at the bottom of IMDb when I was looking at Action Jackson or something.
Maybe.
But it just popped up, and I clicked on the trailer, and then I ended up going down the rabbit hole and watching it.
And then I was like, what would make a good double bill with that? 10 to Midnight.
Yeah.
So yeah, next week we're doing Chuck Norris's Silent Rage and Charles Bronson's 10 to Midnight.
Jamin.
So yeah, that'll be fun next week. Some brutal early 80s action for you.
Jamin.
Early 80s action / horror. That's the theme, really. It's like two action stars that merged, like it's like an action movie merged with a horror movie.
Doing something like out of their comfort zone. Almost.
Yeah. So at least there's a theme next week. Not like this guy wears a t-shirt.
But it is also just two guys with mustaches, though.
That's the better theme. That's the theme I'm going with. That's the one I prefer. So yeah, until next week, folks, you can follow us on Instagram at Champion Cinema Pod. Go give us a review on iTunes and all that jazz. And until then, for Mustache Mania, I'll see you doing the pit.
See you in the heap.
Bye.
Champion Cinema.